Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Discover a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
If the new Chicken Big Mac at McDonald's looks like a Big Mac, has 3 buns and sauce like a Big Mac, but has 2 chicken patties, then it's not a Big Mac.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time.
The Sephora Savings Event is coming. Are you ready to get
this and that? I don't gotta choose.
You're right. You don't. Shop all your favorite makeup, skincare, hair care, and fragrances for less. Find brands like Rare Beauty, Glow Recipe, Valentino, K18, and everything else you want on sale starting November 1st. The Sephora Savings Event is almost here. Shop the sale at Sephora and Sephora at Kohl's. Limitations apply. Must be a beauty insider. See terms at Sephora.com for complete details.
Hi, welcome to a brand new episode of But Am I Wrong? Plot twist. Spoiler, we're not, ever. Watch the video version so you can see how cute we look, all of our posing, how adorable we are.
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, that's because you don't need to do anything. You're already adorable. Welcome to the podcast. It's a grand old time. We have 3 different segments. We will explain each one of them before we get into it so you don't forget. But really what you got to know is this is like ethical shit talking and gossiping. We want you to participate in more ways than one, but the one that I'm specifically talking about right now is you can vote on who you think was wrong in each segment over on our Instagram story. So we post that on the story and you can vote in the poll about, yes, I think they're wrong. No, I don't think they were wrong. And then we always ask that you write in why you voted the way you did, your thoughts, your feelings. And then on our Tuesday episode, see you next Tuesday, we read the results from the previous week and we also read your responses. So we oftentimes have people who were the original writer, have them talk about what has happened since or what they're doing or their thoughts and feelings, and then other people. So you can have varying opinions. You do not have to agree with us. On occasion, we don't even agree with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we love to hear that. So please write in. We've been having a hard time seeing all of our DMs, and we now know this because of people like on our Patreon who are like, oh, I submitted something to like responded to a story or whatever. And we were like, never saw that. So we don't know what is really going on with it, but our request, like our DM requests folder is like not really working.
I saw it for a hot second yesterday. Legit, I think I moved 5 over and there were about 30, 40 more you left. So, and then it disappeared again.
Yeah. And so we have not been able to really see our request folder for the last like 2 or 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we were just like, if we accepted people or whatever, but then it just started being like not working at all. So if you have sent in a response to a like one of the votes and we have not read it and it wasn't like I just voted wrong. Like if you've sent in like your thoughts and feelings and we did not read it, please send us a email to butamiwrongpod@gmail.com with your Instagram username so we can just manually move you over to our like accepted messages. We have all the things like toggled off. So like everybody can send us messages. Everyone can send message requests. We're supposed to be able to see them. It's just not working. And we don't want any of you to think like we're ignoring you. And we had no idea that we have been ignoring you.
Mm-hmm.
But if we go in manually from your profile, we're able to like see that. So please send us a message and we can make sure that we're reading your responses there. And we apologize that you've been overlooked because it is just empty now.
It's not our fault.
It's not.
It's Mark Zuckerberg's fault.
It's Mr. Zuck. It's Zucky Boy. Mark Zucky.
Zucky Boy.
Zucky Boy. Zucky Boy is fucking it up. And it's happening on my personal too. So if you've also been DMing my personal and like I haven't like responded or anything, like know that that's why that is too. And I don't know what to do about it. You know?
Well, shall we get into our first segment?
We shall.
So our first segment is But Am I Wrong? And that's when we pick something from our personal lives to rant and rave about. It could be something that we were wrong about, something we saw in the media that we think needs our attention, something that we are just angry about and want to discuss and bring it to the class and see if everybody else is angry about it. So Megan's up first this week. Here we go.
Meghan has a theme with everything she's talking about this week. And the theme is play stupid games, win stupid prizes. If you're on the Patreon, you might have just seen me spit what I think was a chunk of glitter from my lip gloss. And for this, my hot take is, again, the overarching theme, which you will hear again in my nomination for Wrong of the Week, is when you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. So I would like to nominate in this, the game in question is when you are petty online about your exes moving on, if you are subtweeting, sub-posting, doing any of that, messaging fans and posting like intentionally abstract Instagram stories, like alluding to drama or whatever, and participating in it without being able to stand in it and say that you are participating in it, pretending to be the bigger person, don't be surprised when that bites you in the fucking ass. So this is about former Bachelor contestant and then Bachelorette contestant, Kaitlyn Bristowe. So she's someone who like, I didn't watch her season. She seems fun. Like from what I've seen, she seems like she was like the most out there, quote unquote. So I want to give a precursor that like, I did not watch her season. I am somewhat familiar with like her role in Bachelor Nation. And like, she got a lot of hate for being like very sex positive and like very like much like talking about sex. And I think if I'm not wrong, so like don't quote me on this, that like the big quote unquote drama for her was that she had slept with one of the guys, Nick Viall, who is vile. She had slept with him while they were doing the show, but before Fantasy Suites, and she didn't pick him. Mm-hmm. And of course, middle America, virgin mothers of 4 sons were livid with her and hated her. And so like, I just want to say like, this is none of that. Like up until this moment, I'm like, she seems lovely. She seems great. And I love when like The Bachelor like subverts like the traditional stereotypical gender role women who they cast. Never done that with the men because that's too hard. So she has like a very large podcast and all that. But the history of this, I just want to say, like, to start the backstory, she got engaged to Sean Booth at the end of the 2015 finale of her season, The Bachelorette, but they ended up breaking up in 2018. Then July 2023, he announced that he was going to be a dad. And then 2 days later, Kaitlyn's brand posts on Instagram with the caption, "Always use protection." And in the picture, she is like wearing a goggle swimming mask as someone is pouring wine into her mouth and is missing her mouth. And the brand is wine. And people commented being like, even if this was not intentional, like, you know that like, oh, hey, let's actually change what the caption of this is in light of current news because, you know, she is like not shied away from like talking shit on this man, which I love talking shit on men. Like, I have no issue with that, but it's not, that's why a lot of people were like, this feels targeted because she's very comfortable talking shit on him. And so like, it's not that she never spoke on him ever. It feels like this would be in her style of subtweeting essentially. So then she dated another guy who was on The Bachelorette from a different season, not her season. His name is Jason Tartick, and they broke up in 2023. So, and then on a different podcast that Kaitlyn went on, not her own, she said that she held a funeral service and a fake burial for her and Jason's breakup, which is kind of a lot. And she also previously had said that she experienced uneasy feelings when he announced his new relationship with this content creator named Kat Stickler. So I will say they do look a lot alike, and that is a blessing and a curse. Do you want your ex to be with someone who looks nothing like you? And then you're like, was I even your type? Or do you want them to be with someone who'd also be in the casting room with you because you have the same type? Like, that's just shit happens. It's 50-50 chance, realistically. She then, in her private Facebook group, I think that is like based on the podcast following, similar to ours, but it's like a large Facebook community. She wrote on it, "It's actually hurting more than you know, and for reasons other than most know." And then in another comment, she clarified that she was not hurt, but she was working through some held on anger and resentment. Then on other podcasts, she alluded to disliking him participating in social media and doing podcasting because that was quote unquote her thing. And she wanted to date someone with a real job, which is quite ironic considering part of the reason why she said she liked him so much was because he did have a real job, even though he went on The Bachelorette, he like worked in banking. But he was fired from said real job because of comments he and Caitlyn, I think he made them or she made them, but comments about their sex life that was made on her podcast caused him to lose his real job. So she said, I said, this is really hard for me because, and so he then ended up starting to pursue social media. And she said, I said, this is really hard for me because it was going to be a non-negotiable, but I love you, but I'm going to look past this because you're a good person. And I think you might be my person. She noted that she made a really selfish request that he not start his own podcast as she already had her podcast. As time went on, he realized that podcasting is another avenue for income and that he could do a finance podcast. Slowly but surely, I was like, he's definitely going to do a podcast. She ultimately didn't want to make him choose between her and a podcast. But I was hoping, and this is a quote, I was hoping that I would be chosen, my feelings would be chosen. A podcast was not worth it for him when he would be making all this other money in other avenues. And then she said that he didn't feel like this was fair because it was stunting his growth emotionally and financially. And then she says, I had a full panic attack because I felt like I wasn't chosen, that my feelings were not worth money over him. It did create resentment and betrayal feeling, and it kind of happened a bit behind my back where it was like, hey, by the way, I am starting a podcast. And I was like, what?
All this over a podcast?
A finance podcast.
It's not even in the same wheelhouse of what she's doing.
No. And also she met him because he was a guest on her podcast. If someone is not interested in podcasts, they're also not even going to be a guest on a podcast. Like this, it's just, if you don't want to date someone who wants to be in the public eye, date a plumber, date an electrician, date someone don't date someone who happens to have a 9 to 5 before they went on The Bachelorette and then get them fired from their job because you talk about them on your public platform. It just doesn't work that way.
No.
So now that he's dating this other girl who is a very famous TikToker, like she's a famous content creator, I would definitely say her and Kayla are in the similar vein of like personality types online, social media. And she's like said and alluded to that she really doesn't like his relationship being on social media and that like it feels like it's being rubbed in her face when she did the same thing with Jason when to her ex, Sean, like posting all of them being on social media. And then this leads us to what all of this sparked for me. Now we introduce a new character, Tayshia. Tayshia, I absolutely love. She was on an irrelevant season of The Bachelor, don't care. Then she became the Bachelorette, and I said, well, she became a dual Bachelorette. So just know it was Claire, Crawley, and Tayshia. They were doing it dual. I was obsessed with Tayshia. She has the greatest outfits. She's gorgeous. She's so funny. She's so nice. And she's the kind of person when you watch on TV, you go, you should be the Bachelorette. She can have a conversation with anyone in a way that doesn't feel fake, but it feels like very genuine and earnest. And I felt like I got to know the guys on her season more than anyone else solely because she was such a good conversationalist. Like she is just hosting material, put her on E. She's fantastic. So on her season in 2020, she got engaged to Zach. And then in December of 2021, her and Zach announced their split, but they never dove into it. Tayshia does not have the podcast like Caitlyn. Like Tayshia does not talk about this in that way. So then Caitlyn and Tayshia together became the dual hosts of 2 different seasons of The Bachelorette together in 2021, the same year that Tayshia announced her split with Zach. So they discussed the breakup on the show without like saying it, but like, you know, Caitlyn, yeah, I'm here for her and like supporting her. And like they were alluding to those things and they were very much parading them around as like a duo.
Mm-hmm.
And then Caitlyn goes on, I think it's called the You Up podcast. It's one of those.
I'm familiar with that show.
Yeah. Is that the Jared guy?
I think so.
Yep. She went on that podcast and starts talking about this time about how she was, this guy slid into her I don't even know who slid into who's, but like this, she was like starting to talk to this guy and he was a coworker, essentially. This person they knew from Bachelor Nation. Like, you know, this coworker is person they kind of knew. We're not friends with. Definitely we're not friends with. We're not close with at all. They like used to date like a super long time ago. And so she was like, gonna be a good person about this. And said that she reached out to her reached out to this woman via text saying, I wrote, hey, so-and-so DM'd me and we've been chatting. I know you're really happy in a relationship, so I don't know if this would bother you or not. And then she continued. So says basically, we've been talking, blah, blah, blah. She then calls me. This is again, quote. She called and was very upset. She said, I always knew you were a bad person and you confirmed it. Your true colors are showing. Then I hung up on her and I thought, now I just want to send her a picture of me sucking his dick.
My jaw dropped.
As did mine watching this clip, as did all of the thousands of fucking comments.
Clip?
It's a video clip of her saying this, and she's saying it like mic drop, and then the audience applaud, and everyone got up and cheered, and like the whole city threw a parade for me. Like she was expecting like this you go, girl. Like, that's not that vibe. Like, it was wild to hear. And the fact that never mentions it's Tayshia. Does not mention that it's Tayshia's ex-fiance. Does not mention that they were friends during the breakup. Does not mention that they were working together while she was dealing with this public breakup. And there's speculation about the breakup, and specifically, again, speculation. This is like Reddit speculation, that they did a marathon together and he like really pushed her hard. He's like I don't know if it's accountability, but he does like mentoring of like, he's sober and he does like mentoring, and like, I don't know if he runs a facility, but he does things with like, what he does is help people who are dealing with dependency and substance stuff, like working on that relationship, eliminating that from your life and redirecting all of that stuff.
Okay.
And it is quite a common thing for people who have any sort of addictive personality types to go from different things. And so fitness can be a very common one. And there was again, this is rumored that it's not rumored that they ran a marathon, but he pushed her too hard and she ended up in the hospital. And like, that it was maybe not an environment where she felt like she could say, this is too much for me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's never spoken about it. She is fucking classy. Has never said a bad word about him, whatever. And Caitlyn, who was so upset that her ex-fiance had moved on with someone who also did social media, who was upset that her other ex-fiance was having a baby with somebody else. And even though she broke up with him, I'm pretty sure, all of these things, to then pretend to text someone who, if you say they're not a friend, why would you message them? And then also, if they can't say that they're not cool with it, why would you message them to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
If the answer cannot be, hey, no, I'm not cool with that at all, like, what's the fucking point of it?
Because she thought she was going to say yeah.
Yeah. And like, again, I think if you thought she was going to say yeah and it was going to be no big deal, you wouldn't have even asked, because it would literally be a nothing. It would be just like, whatever. It's like so irrelevant. If you are going to play the petty game of subtweeting game, sometimes you'll be met with someone who is incredibly direct, someone who is not going to respond with an Instagram caption that alludes to that is kind of just passive aggressive. Sometimes someone is going to call you up on the phone and say, I always knew you're a bad person, and you're going to have to live with that. And as somebody who loves being petty, if you're going to dish it, you have to be able to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And this to me was just like shocking. And I hope that she's rolling with it and is kind of just like, yeah, because you have to expect it. And I know you haven't watched Love Island, but I relate it to Liv on Love Island, where like Liv talked a lot of shit and like she got her ass handed to her. And she was like, you know what? I was wrong. And she's like, if I'm going to be a fucking bitch, I have to be able to like, if I tell it how it is, when people like tell me that I fucked up, like I have to own that. And she's like, and I do, like, I take that. And like all of the girls were like, yeah, we have beef with Liv, but like Liv will apologize. Like Liv will, she understands that like you can throw a punch, you have to take a punch. You can't do it the other way around. And this to me was just shocking. But I will also like to note, as the last thing, is Zach did in fact start a podcast right after they started dating. Who is the new guy? So, and might I suggest, if you don't want to date guys who are famous, maybe don't pick a guy who went on a dating show on television.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Interesting story. Wild.
Mm-hmm. And you know what I say though? I stand by, still don't watch that season. It sounds like a wonderful reality TV show castmate, because that to me, I go, good, put that personality on TV. That's the kind of vibe I want from someone on TV.
All right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is. And I like how it all just like came back to the new guy still having a podcast. So
yes,
it was all for naught, really.
And they're all going to have podcasts. If you keep dating men you invite onto your podcast, eventually they're all going to have podcasts. Also, men love podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Mott started a golf podcast for a minute. Didn't last.
For a minute, one episode.
Yeah, technically it wasn't a minute. It was for like 2.5 hours. It was so fucking long. I was like, one listen? And I'm pretty sure it was my sister-in-law's mom.
Cool.
Yep.
All right. Mine is, if you work in the entertainment field, your name doesn't necessarily need to be on anything. And you're probably like, what is this about? Well, there's a new movie coming out called The 6888 on Netflix, December 20th, starring Kerry Washington Goldwyn. The trailer dropped and it looked phenomenal. And I think that I'm not sure quite what accent she's doing.
Wait, you watched the trailer?
I know. And I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what accent she's doing, but I know she's going to kill the role.
Ooh.
So I usually don't watch trailers, but I know who wrote and directed this movie. I'm not going to say their name, but I know who wrote and directed this movie.
Could you remind me of the movie name one more time?
The 6888.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Uh-huh. And you don't say their name either.
No, I won't.
Okay.
I know my place.
Yeah. So the person that wrote and directed this movie, I don't ever watch any of their projects because they're not for me, but they are very, very successful, but not for me. I watched the trailer because I was like, I'm not actually going to watch the movie, but the trailer looks phenomenal. The shots, the way that like it's acted, like it looks really good. And I know that this person took like time with this movie, unlike they do with their other films. They took years because I remember seeing the first still from this film at least 2 years ago. Like it's been a work in progress, and they've really like sat down and took the time. I don't know if it was specifically him. It might have been because he had Carrie attached. It might have been because I can't even say it's Netflix because they've dropped several of his films lately, and it's like
it's also based on existing material.
Yes, it's
of
based
someone
on
who's alive.
Yes, and so in the trailer, they do not mention this person's name at all, and their name is usually all over everything.
Usually comes first before the title
before
of
the
something.
title even drops. It's usually on the movie. It's usually like in the description. People are saying this is this person's film. It's not like this is the film. It's like this is name. And they didn't do that. And I don't know if it was Netflix themselves. I don't know if it was marketing, PR. I don't know whose idea this was, but I think it was a brilliant idea because when this person's name is mentioned, you automatically get a thought in your head about what kind of movie this is going to be. And I already had a thought in my head about what kind of movie this was going to be, but I also knew who was attached, and I knew that it's taken years to make. So I was like, ooh, maybe it actually like it could be good. And I think it actually might be good. I think it actually might be good. And I think not putting his name on it is a win for everybody because it's going to make people that would never see a movie by him actually want to see it. So bravo to whoever's idea was to not mention this person's name anywhere in this trailer, in any marketing, anywhere in recent and in the original marketing. I know who made it because I know, like, I saw the original marketing for years ago, and I was like, he's making this, and then I was like,
making this with him.
Yeah, and so I was like, I don't want to see this, but I watched the trailer because I knew I wasn't going to watch the movie, but now I actually might want to watch the movie because the trailer looks good. And it also might prove that like the stuff can be better if he takes his time.
And some might say that he also knows that, but
no, he doesn't.
Was okay with making the money because you don't have to necessarily make a product that is great to make money. And that in itself is a different skill.
He calls us people, and I'm not including you in this because he wasn't talking about you. He was talking about Black people. He called us people that are against his movies, uppity, and I won't say the other word because most of the people that listen to the podcast are not the audience for that. But he had words to say, and this was recently. It was when he was on Kiki's podcast. He had words to say about it, and she was defending him. And I said, I will stand by Kiki for almost anything, but not two things, and two of them have to do with men, and in different ways. So smart move by whoever did this. I'll be watching the film, and I'll reserve my actual thoughts on it after I see it, but it actually looks really good. So don't put people's names splattered over things if you're going to already have thoughts in your head about what you're going to see.
I could not agree with it more because there are times where when people can detach their ego from something to know that they actually like hurt the project in terms of like how it will be like received or whatever. I respect it. Like I respect it so much. And weirdly enough, yesterday, I don't know what we were looking at, but how I got there. I was just, I think I got there from Blink twice, looking at some of the credits on it, but I don't remember how I got there because it's not about Blink twice. So it was like I'm clicking and clicking and clicking. And I end up seeing, which you probably know already, that this small production company, that's the woman whose father invented
Toaster strudel,
essentially, like something like that. And the two brothers, one of them who's a soap star, and they're one of the production companies who did La La Land. And I'm looking at like all the stuff they've done, and I was like, wow. And I had no idea, because very rarely when like an actor, front-facing an actor who has a production company, very rarely are you going to see that be silent, because usually that is good PR, like for that. And they are an independent film production, television, podcast, and they had a 25% stake in La La Land. And I was like, what? And La La Land is it's not the Circle. It doesn't have like 10,000 production companies because they keep needing to get more money and more money and more money. Like they were the ones who like won part of a bidding war for that stake in it.
Interesting.
Yeah, when you know that you're like, my name doesn't need to be front and center on this, because people have preconceived notions, whether they are true or false.
Yep.
I'm not going to let it hurt it.
No.
So you're not wrong at all. And I also kind of want to say it.
It looks great.
Yeah, it does.
But I had seen the stills and I was like, it's not what he usually does at all.
Not at all.
If this is a turning point, which I don't think it is, I think he'll still make...
This is a blip.
He'll still make the other things, but maybe like every few years he like does one that he's taken his time on.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
I just think if you like look in a lineup of 10 movies, it's just interesting.
20?
Yeah. I was like, at that point, by the time it comes out, 40? It's just interesting.
Yeah. So maybe good job. We'll see. Again, I'll reserve my thoughts until December.
Pending good job.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll do our next segment.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a co-founder of the Go Kid Go Network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. During her journey, Isla meets new friends, including King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, and learns valuable life lessons with every quest, sword fight, and dragon ride. Positive and uplifting stories remind us all about the importance of kindness, friendship, honesty, and positivity. Join me and an all-star cast of actors, including Liam Neeson, Emily Blunt, Kristen Bell, Chris Hemsworth, among many others, in welcoming the Search for the Silver Lining podcast to the Go Kid Go Network by listening today. Look for the Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
We are back from our break. I turned my air on. Melissa turned it off.
It was so cold. Like I'm sure y'all just saw me shivering.
Shivering, and I'm sweating. So we're flipping it. And now it's time for our second segment, which is But Are You Wrong? Where you, listeners or viewers, depending on if you're watching on Patreon, you send us your predicament, your situation, something you found yourself in where you want to know if you are in the wrong or if you would be in the wrong. Send that over to butamiwrongpod@gmail.com, and we will dish it out. We'll serve our sentence. We'll say who is guilty, who is the wrong one, who is not, our thoughts and feelings, and keep it under 300 words. We do ask that you include your age. It is anonymous, so don't do your names or anything like that. And if you come up with pseudonyms, which we do recommend, they don't have to be themed anything, but if they are themed, please think about the theme that you're making and have it relate to the situation and circumstance. Because otherwise we will pick up on what we think is subliminal messaging. And let's get going. Hi, Meghan and Melisa, longtime listener, Patreon girly, and first-time writer here. I, 29 female, have recently made the decision to sell my former bridal set given to me by my ex-husband, and have very quickly run into buyers who won't even consider a quote-unquote divorce ring because their clients won't even look at one since they are, again, quote-unquote bad luck. My original idea with the set was to turn it into the jeweler for a credit and upgrade my current wedding ring set with my now husband of a few years. But we're trying to pay down debt, and honestly, I've grown so attached to my current ring, I don't really want to upgrade it or dish out another $1,500 to do so. As far as the luck side of the old set goes, sure, I believe in energy, but not superstition. As far as energy goes, my ex and I were very happy and in love when we exchanged rings, regardless of things not working out. Would I be wrong to use the story of upgrading my ring as a reason I'm selling the old set so I can actually garner some interest and hopefully make a sale? P.S. No, my ex-husband was not interested in taking the ring back when we broke up. I did ask, and it was 5+ years ago. Also, if my guilt is unnecessary, it's probably because I am a Libra. This is crazy ironic to me that people were like, oh my God, there's bad vibes with the ring from divorce, not one that a child had to mine from a country where they got paid next to nothing to do it and people die.
We don't know if that's what went into this ring.
But I'm just saying diamonds in general, yes. Like, it's just kind of like, what do you mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Like, it's just like this idea that like you want to be able to trace exactly where it came from, then you have to get it from a lab. Like that's where to get it from there. And also at the same time, like you can't really still know in the sense that, like maybe someone when they were making that lab diamond was having a bad day. Like it's just like this assigning all of this stuff to it, like to me is so silly.
Can we talk about this PS for a second? I in no way in my mind was I like, yeah, give this ring back to your ex-husband. Absolutely not. It's
even
your
if
ring.
You did something bad and you were the reason, like, I'm sorry, that is mine now. Right. Like, I would never, if you were like, should I give it back to him? I'd be like, no. So I guess what you're asking is like, would you be wrong to, instead of saying that we got, this is for my first husband, we're divorced, pretending and essentially saying that this is the ring that you want to trade in so you can upgrade.
Mm-hmm. Why do we need a backstory though?
I mean, sometimes jewelers have big personalities that they, want to know. But yeah, maybe also just like, maybe you're like me. You just should say less words. Like maybe you're offering up this backstory. I do that where you're just like, I've now put myself in a situation where I'm the one who offered this information. Nobody asked. So like,
this would be the one situation where I would go with Mott's just letting people create their own stories. This is the situation I would go with.
The way that when he was trying to get a ring, a quote unquote engagement ring, whatever they said, oh, you lost. Yeah. Oh, yours broke. Yeah. And he's a man of few words in those instances, not other instances, but like that one, like you said, just rolling with letting other people paint whatever fantasy they want to have for it.
Yeah. And I'm just like, my thing with, if you're buying a ring that you know somebody else has used, you also know that this person has been wearing this ring when they're like fucking they were fucking their spouse. Like, what do you think? Like, I'm just like, They had on a wedding ring when like they could have been jacking off their husband with that hand, with that wedding ring. So like regardless if they were married, divorced, or whatever, the ring already has a story to it.
Yeah, and like, why is it better that the person who wore it died than they got divorced? Like, it's like, oh no, it's like, what's the story of this ring? And it's like, were they divorced? No, she was hit by a car. And they're like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
What? Like,
good luck.
What? Like, that's just, it's also like, I'm also like not, I'm a big fan of divorce. Like, I do not think divorce is something that we should be like terrified of and like absolutely have disdain for and hate, because it's something that like as women, like we did not have that option for a long time, and like it saves people's lives. It's super great. Like divorce is amazing and awesome. And I guess my only thing is that like resale value of rings, like it's pretty small. Like it's just not, you're not gonna get nearly as much as you didn't pay for, but nearly as much as it's like was appraised at or how much it was sold at to turn it in. So I think that like your best bet would be like, you know, a jeweler will take it and they will take it out of its, they can take it out of its setting and make something else with it. But like, I would see how much money you would get point blank, because sometimes it's like so little that like you might just enjoy having that set made into something else that you could wear. Because again, like you saying like, you want to like pay off debts or whatever, I totally hear you. It's not going to do much of that. Like, unless it's the ring from the Titanic, very rarely are you going to like, it's going to be like a significant amount of money, and you could just make it into something else that you enjoy wearing. Or if you have like
someone,
family member, or like carry on as like an heirloom, whether you have kids or you are a godparent or aunt or uncles, or, you know, like you could just do that something with.
I don't think the current husband would be like, yeah, give our kid this heirloom from your
but like not the ring, but I'm saying making it into something else that you wear, and then it becomes an heirloom.
I think they still might have issue with that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't, but I think other people would.
Yeah, you're probably right. For me, that's like, I can't even, like, it's just like, it's just a rock. And like, you signed a whole contract to get married to this man after you already were married to somebody else. Like, that's a much bigger commitment. But I think just like figure out what your goal is. If your goal is making as much money from it as possible, you might have to sit on it for a way longer time. And then, but I think point blank, saying whatever story you want to say, paint whatever fantasy you want to paint, I support it. You don't even have to pick this one. You could be like, this was a ring given to me from my great grandfather on his last dying breath. He said, it fits perfectly onto your finger. Or I found it after I went on a treasure hunt. Like literally, who cares? Because I also don't believe jewelers when they create, if people creating these elaborate stories behind things, you can't prove it. I don't believe what they're saying, so might as well join in on the fun. Tell a tall tale.
Yeah. All right.
I love that though.
I do too.
Send the pictures of the rings.
Next one. Hi, Eminem. Love the podcast. I'm a longtime listener, but first time writing in. And I need your help with a dilemma I'm facing. My 30 female boyfriend's 28 male brother. Okay, got it. Is getting married in a few weeks, and as we have only been together 8 months at the time of the wedding, I was only invited to the reception. I understand their view of wanting to keep it to close friends and family, and I am a recent addition. However, my boyfriend was upset as he was previously promised a +1, as only him and his parents are invited on the groom's side versus over 20 people on the bride's side. Wow. The wedding is being held at a hotel and spa venue, and as I expected to drive my boyfriend, it's an hour and a half away, and they want to limit cars. I booked to go to the spa during the event and then join for the reception later. The problem has come as someone dropped out last minute, and I have been invited as a replacement. However, I've already paid over 100 euros for the spa. I don't want the money to go to waste, especially since I'm only a last-minute addition, but also don't want to make matters worse, as the lack of invite was a sore point between my boyfriend and his family in the first place. My boyfriend is fine with me still going to the spa, as he said it was unreasonable of them to expect me not to have made other plans, but his mother has openly said she won't be happy with me being so close to the ceremony, but not attend. So would I be wrong if I went to the spa instead of the wedding? Thanks. Why wasn't the mother angry before? Why is she just angry now that somebody has dropped out? Why didn't she push earlier for you to go if she is this concerned? I don't get it.
She might be concerned with the fact that people can now tell that there was space for you and you were not a first tier invite if you do not accept that.
Right. And also, like, why does the bride get so many more people to invite?
Yeah, I don't know.
This whole situation seems weird to me. I feel like if the mother is so concerned, then she needs to give you $100 or 100 euros to make up. But I would much rather go to a spa than to go to a wedding where I'm not wanted. Not just not wanted, but like an afterthought. Now I'm a replacement. Nah.
Yeah, my personal stance is like, yeah, I think go to the spa, like do your own thing. That's fine. But my other one is she's telling you she will be unhappy. Are you okay with dealing with the consequences of that? Not in theory, in practice. And more specifically, is your boyfriend okay with dealing with the outcome of that? Because, yeah, at a certain point in relationships, if there's like a hard boundary for you and like that you want to draw in the sand with his family, it has to be mutually decided. He has to be able to want to do that too and adhere to that too. Just know that like it might create a tension point, and also your boyfriend might pick his parents in that tension point. And that's no knock to you or anything like that. But some people, if things get like a little difficult or a little tense, they're very quick to opt for their family, even if their family, they can recognize their family's actually in the wrong. So I also think it's fine to like break up eventually, whatever. But like just know that what the morally, I would say, answer that what I would want to do and what I would do might be different ones. You know?
All right. Well, we're going to take another break. And when we get back, we'll get into But Are They Wrong?
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Do you love Disney? Then you are going to love our hit podcast, Disney Countdown. I'm Megan, the Magical Millennial.
And I'm the Dapper Danielle.
On every episode of our fun and family-friendly show, we count down our top 10 lists of all things Disney. There is nothing we don't cover.
We are famous for rabbit holes, Disney-themed games, and fun facts you didn't know you needed, but you definitely need in your life. So if you're looking for a healthy dose of Disney magic, check out Disney Countdown wherever you get your podcasts.
Merry Christmas, everybody! My name is Eric Peterson. I'm here with my good buddy,
Danny Jordan.
And we are the hosts of Christmas Countdown Show.
We're so thrilled to be bringing the merriment to you all this holiday season. On Christmas Countdown, we love to count down our top 10 favorite things related to the holiday season. That could be food, movies, music, everything that we all love about this massively merry good time. So wherever you get your podcasts, make sure you click that subscribe button. Eric, are you ready?
I am ready, and we hope that you are too. Merry Christmas, everybody! Let's go!
And we're back. It's time for But Are They Wrong? This is where we nominate person, place, or thing, someone in current events, pop culture, who we think deserves the wrong of the week. Who's doing the most, and the most parentheses, bad
Bullies.
connotation. Exactly. And continuing with my theme, play stupid games, win stupid prizes, I would like to nominate Alix Earle. So Alix Earle is an influencer. We don't need to get into the background. But let's just say she's a blonde girl from Florida. So if you have any ideas about what her political stances might be, you would be correct. And so that has not been a secret. Like, people have seen that. Some people were acting shocked. And I was like, what do you mean you are shocked? Like, okay, she's on a boat in Florida, blonde hair, blue eyes. There's definitely going to be a Trump flag that may or may not be cropped out. And for sometimes it's not cropped out. So whether that's her personal belief, who she surrounds herself with, whatever, not a shocker. But around the same time that Brooke Schofield's tweets, posts, all of her stuff being just crazy fucking racist and horrible and awful, Alix Earle had ones that came out around the same time of screenshots of her Ask FM, where she was using the N-word just left, right, and center in the way that you might expect a blonde girl from Florida. Like, it just using as if it is the word my friend. That it, like, just song lyrics, saying it, response to people, all of that. And it was pretty going under the radar because Brooke's were so much more vast and I don't want to say more malicious, but like specifically targeted at young Black kids who had died at the hands of white people and police, like all like just specific, really, really fucking specific. So people focused on that. Not a lot of people paid attention to Alix's until two close friends of mine on a podcast called Do We Know Them? Which we do know them. We do both know Lily and Jesse, two of my besties. They received a cease and desist from someone claiming to be on Alix Earle's legal team based on a post on their subreddit that has an automated post every time that someone's posted on there that's in the description they have zero affiliation with. They are not a part of it. They have never been a part of it. They have no control of it, nothing. And someone posted on there screenshots of these Ask FM screenshots of her saying this. And they were hit with a cease and desist, claiming, essentially checking off every single box, claiming that these were, it was copyright infringement, it was trade infringement, it was intellectual property, but then also some just ones that are like everything. They just like ran the gamut, essentially assuming and hoping that it would just scare them to be quiet, that they wouldn't know what any of this means. Because it's like a standard legal document that's like not getting specific, like at all. And little did they know that they are already within their own laws with someone claiming copyright infringement on content that they've made. And it blew it all up because people were like, holy shit, Alix Earle's lawyers copyrighted her racist posts? Like, that's fucking crazy. So no one can then talk about it, share them, or show them without infringing on her intellectual property of these messages, which is unhinged. This to me is a clear indicator of this is why you need to not only not say these things and do better, but if you're going to claim that you've learned and grown from this to me is kind of one of the most like sinister, diabolical things. I never even considered someone would do this, think of doing this, didn't know this was a possibility. Like, this is a whole other level of how the fuck are we supposed to believe that you've changed and grown and you don't believe these things when you actually wanted to trademark racist statements? Okay. Okay. And that post like started going viral on TikTok and it became the reason that she had to address this. And I was like, Lily and Jesse, like, look at you guys. Like, she would have never addressed this if it wasn't for it. And she claims that those are not her lawyers. And I will say on a technicality, no, they are not her entertainment lawyers. And as somebody who has an entertainment lawyer and who has had to seek the insight from other lawyers, entertainment lawyers can only help you with what they do. If someone is going to sue you or someone is even pursuing that, even if you have questions about that, they will not, like, legally, it is too much of a liability. They will not give you that legal advice. You have to seek out counsel from someone who specifies in that law. So these people work for Web Sheriff, which this is what they do. They like do mass reporting of things of like claiming intellectual property and whatever. They've like gotten into hot water with like other people before and just like doing all of this shit. This is who Prince, the team like that Prince had hired to get his name and likeness like removed from the internet. And really what this is, in my opinion, so this is not fact, is what happens when you don't listen to your publicist and you let your lawyers say, we'll take care of it. Because I think her lawyers hired these people because they were like, we can eliminate this as opposed to deal with it. That will be dealing with it. The way I've come to that conclusion, because her lawyers, because her PR team represents two people who I would say they've done a pretty good job at maintaining a career, which is Leah Michelle and Olivia Jade. So you might take their advice versus the lawyer who represents Jonah Hill and Armie Hammer. Yep.
I have no idea who this girl is. I've heard her name. I don't know what she looks like. I don't know what she does. I don't know who she is.
Her stepmom is Ashley Dupree. That's what I think is the most interesting fact about her. And I go, I wish if she did talk about that, I would watch her content.
I don't know who that is either.
Oh, she's the woman who was the sex worker who got like wiretapped and caught for the New York governor. And
yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Quite interesting.
So I kept seeing people that I know come in the middle of the story. I know, as in I follow them on TikTok, come in the middle of the story. I couldn't follow the story. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. But then I saw one thing that had Lily and Jesse up and I was like, where the fuck do they fall into this? But when I saw them, I was like, Megan's going to talk about it. So I don't need to follow up anymore. But, it was just like, I kept hearing like people like Mecca and people like talking about her copywriting her racist tweets. And I was just like, what the fuck is everybody talking about? And who was his bra? But like, I didn't care enough to look it up. But then I saw
it's exactly that though.
Somebody, they posted like it was a bad clip of Lily and Jess. Like it looked like they recorded it with their phone on their like TV. It was so far away. And I was like, what is this? And I said, well, I'll figure it out later. Megan will tell me.
Yep. It's wild. And of course I knew this as soon as it happened. And did I get the legal documents set? I quickly said, girls, send me those. I want to see them. I want to see something. And but it's just so funny to me that they had if you know Lily and Jesse, anyone, specifically this clip, but like anything that they do, they are not talking about this like, you guys, we've got a big bomb. This is going to go viral. They go, can you believe? Crazy. And so neither of them had. So the fact that clip is going viral and they're like, oh, this one? Okay. That was just a throwaway, like, can you believe that this happened? LOL. And then let's get into like the rest of our episode.
Wild. Truly wild.
Yep. It's just hilarious. Hilarious. And the infringing/violating website they list is Do We Know Them Podcast. Sir, that's not a website.
No.
It's not a website at all. Yeah, business of goodwill, reputation, right of publicity, human rights violations, data protection violations. It's so funny. Stolen and illegal, published, pirated, copyrighted footage, stills, images that infringes on the owner's right in the same. Stolen and infringed on data. Cyber stalking legislation and treaties, stolen illegally, malicious communication. Like, those lawyers. Whoo!
Yeah. Okay, well... My nomination for this week is the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton. He's been targeting members of the LULAC organization, which is the League of United Latin American Citizens, which is the largest, oldest Hispanic organization in the U.S. It advances the economic condition, education, attainment, political influence, housing and health, and civil rights of Hispanic Americans through community-based programs. So this first started when Lydia Martinez, who's been a LULAC member for over 35 years and works to expand voter registration among seniors and veterans in South Texas, was at home. She was in her nightgown and she says, I had all these policemen around me. It was embarrassing, humiliating. I was so angry. It was horrible. They seized her phone, computer, personal calendar, blank voter registration forms, and her certificate to conduct voter registration. She said, I feel that they're going to stop a lot of us from going out and doing our work, and that's what they want. This woman is 80. Keep that in mind. I don't do anything illegal. I follow the rules of the election office, and I have never done anything illegal. So on Monday, this past Monday, so it would have been August 26th, LULAC leaders called for a federal investigation into the search. This is a political maneuver because of the timing of it. It's only 70 days before the presidential election. They have been investigating these allegations of voter fraud for 2 years, so why go after them now? It seems very strategic and politically motivated, said the president of LULAC. And so, and LULAC 4967 in Houston. And then also Martinez says, this is a free country. This is not Russia. Another person that works with the organization says, we feel like our votes are being suppressed. We're going to get to the bottom of it. At least 6 members had their homes searched. They included Manuel Medina, who was his home was searched for several hours. They took documents, his computer, his phone, and he's the former head of the Bexar County Democratic Party and is working on a campaign. And a lot of people are saying, like, why are they going after these older people and attacking them? And they basically said the office of the attorney general was like, well, we need to investigate voter fraud. They're registering people to vote.
Yeah. How would you discover that they're committing voter fraud? What's the difference between being someone who is helping people register to vote and do all the polling like, what's the distinction there that you're deciding?
Yep. And so Martinez said, I'm not doing anything illegal. All I do is help the seniors. Voter fraud, and just like as a note, voter fraud is rare, typically occurs in isolated incidences, and is generally detected. The Associated Press, there was an investigation done in the 2020 presidential election, which found fewer than 475 potential cases of voter fraud out of the 25.5 million ballots cast in the 6 states where Trump and his allies disputed his loss to Democratic President Joe Biden. And also, most of those people voted Republican.
Yeah.
They're just trying to scare Democrats in Texas, which if things were fair in Texas, Texas would be a blue state.
Yeah. They specifically are targeting states where they're already dealing with voter suppression. And then even when that's not working as well as they want it to, then they start going for voter fraud. But then it becomes like, how much of quote unquote voter fraud in the terms of that you're searching for it fall under like human error? And then how many of those are Republicans?
Right.
So yeah, I just have to say, one of the biggest issues in the Democratic Party that we are told by organizers and leaders is that our issue with organizing and coming together as a collective. And so I find it crazy that for most of the year, the Republicans clock that, which a fair assessment. But then for about 2 months of the year, they go, nah, they're actually orchestrating a nationwide voter for all this whole thing. I go, but you bitches were correct of saying that we have a hard time getting on one solid team and coming together. But now suddenly we've been crafting behind the scenes. How can both be true?
Nope. So I hope, especially, I'm like, this woman is legit 80 years old. And she thought that somebody was coming over because they wanted to borrow some sugar.
Oh, that's like Disney villain, diabolical. Yeah, I literally just like looked him up, and he an hour ago there's a brand new article about him because he is suing the State Fair of Texas because they have banned most people from bringing firearms. And he said, no, everyone should have guns at the fair.
Wow.
So it's just a lot. Yeah, a man shot 3 people last year at the fair. And so they've changed their policies on concealed carry. And he's saying no and is now suing them.
Well, he's just a piece of shit all around.
Doesn't take a day off, apparently, from being a piece of shit. Well, fuck him. And fuck them all. Negative connotation. And if you're not a bad person, fuck you, positive connotation. I hope someone fucks you if you would like for them to fuck you. Or I fuck with you. Also positive connotation. Choose your own adventure.
All right. Well, that's the end of the episode.
We hope you all enjoyed. Please write in for the But Are You Wrong segment to butamiwrongpod@gmail.com. And you can always tag us in who you want us to talk about or nominate for the worst of the week. You can send it to our DMs on TikTok. I would say Instagram is like a kind of a dicey place right now, unless we've already had a back and forth response. So TikTok's a great place to do that. And yeah, we hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for the rest of the episodes and podcasts that we have for you this week. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
We will circle back.
You didn't even wait for me that time.
I did look at you though.
But you said you just
You're right.
went straight into it.
And also, I was looking at you. I was zoning out at your face. I wasn't looking into your eyes. I didn't wait. You're right.
No. It's fine. Nope, it's fine.
No,
You don't
come
have
on,
to-
do it. Do it. And Coco, don't cut any of this out. Ready?
We'll circle
back. Flawless. But Am I Wrong is a production by me, Megan Rinks.
And me, Melisa DeMonts, plus Diamond Imprint Productions.
Post-production by Coco Lorenz.
And production assistance by Melanie D. Watson.
Welcome to the small town of Chinook, where faith runs deep and secrets run deeper. In this new thriller, religion and crime collide when a gruesome murder rocks the isolated Montana community. Everyone is quick to point their fingers at a drug-addicted teenager, but local deputy Ruth Vogel isn't convinced. She suspects connections to a powerful religious group. Enter federal agent V.B. Lauro, who has been investigating a local church for possible criminal activity. The pair form an unlikely partnership to catch the killer, unearthing secrets that leave Ruth torn between her duty to the law, her religious convictions, and her very own family. But something more sinister than murder is afoot, and someone is watching Ruth.
Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.
Hey, are you ready for some real talk and some fantastic laughs? Join me, Megan Rinks.
And me, Melisa DeMonts, for Don't Blame Me, But Am I Wrong?
We're serving up 4 hilarious shows every week designed to entertain and engage and, possibly enrage you.
And Don't Blame Me, we dive deep into listeners' questions, offering advice that's funny, relatable, and real.
Whether you're dealing with relationship drama or you just need a friend's perspective, we've got you.
Then switch gears with But Am I Wrong, which is for listeners who didn't take our advice and want to know if they are the villains in the situation.
Plus, we share our hot takes on current events and present situations that we might even be wrong in our lives. Spoiler alert, we are actually quite literally never wrong.
But wait, there's more. Check out See You Next Tuesday, where we reveal the juicy results from our listener polls from But Am I Wrong?
And don't miss Fisting Friday, where we catch up, chat about pop culture, TV, and movies. It's the perfect way to kick off your weekend.
So if you're looking for a podcast that feels like a chat with your besties, listen to Don't Blame Me, But Am I Wrong on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday.